Hey there everyone, and welcome to another lecture of this SolidWorks series. In this lecture we are again going to continue our manipulation tools, and this time we are going to see the last section, which is stretch and offset. So basically what this stretch is, so this stretch, what it will going to do, it will just going to stretch your object along one point, and having one side that is constant one, and then you have the offset one, and this offset will going to have the offset value or the line, or let's say one object, and that object that is created along some certain distance of its original object. So we are going to see these two commands again in SolidWorks. So let's just start with the stretch. So basically a stretch, as I've told you how it will going to work, let's just say you have one rectangle over here, and now the stretch, what it will do, if you are going to select this line and this line, then if this line is the constant one, then the stretch, what it will going to do, it will just stretch your object along this constant line, and it will have the new rectangle as this one. So this is how basically stretch works. So let's just jump into our SolidWorks and let's just see how we can do that. So for that I'm going to create one rectangle first. You can select many of the objects. You can select any of the object that is having sides. The circles and the curved sections are not going to be stretched as it doesn't contain any side. So basically all the objects that is having a sides can be stretched. So let's say we have this rectangle, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to stretch this rectangle. So for that I'm going to just go for this move entities. You just click on this move arrow right below this move, right in front of this move entities, and you can find the stretch over here. So just click on the stretch, and then again a dialog box will appear over here, and this will contain some of the parameters that you want to should have to provide. And the first one is the entities that you want to stretch. So as I have told you, I'm going to select all the entities except the one that will be the constant one. So just select this one, and this one as your entities. I am just taking this one as the constant one. Then it is asking you for the stretch about point. So the point till which I'm going to have the stretch is this point, and if I'm going to select this point, it will going to stretch your object like this. So you can find that now your object is being stretched. And similarly, if you want to stretch a line, you can do that as well. If you have one line over here, you can just select the stretch command, but instead in the entities section, instead of selecting the whole line, we are going to select one point, and the point will be this one. This point will be as the constant point, then the stretching point will be this point again, and you can find that the line is now stretched. This command is basically not so much useful, but in some rare cases it comes into play, and you can find out some of the uses of this command. Similarly, this like this stretch command, you have the offset command, and you will find the offset command in some different section. As this list is now over, we have completed all the objects or all the entities in this section. The stretch or the offset command you will going to find out over here. This is the offset command. So let's just discuss about this offset command then. So this offset command, as I have told you, it will going to create one offset object. It means that a parallel object at some distance that you are going to provide. So let's say you have this line, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create the offset of this line. So how the offset will going to create? For that, the SolidWorks will going to create one parallel line along with this line, and this distance will be the distance that will be going to be provided by us. So let's just take this distance as d. So you can see that this line is now offset of the line over below, and the offset distance is d. Similarly, if you want to offset a circle along some distance d, let's say, then you can have the concentric circles like that. So this all distance is d. You can just manipulate this distance. Let's say you want to have different distance, then you can just do that also. So let's just say this is d1 and then this d2. So this is how the offset command works. So let's just see it in action, so how we can do that, our offset. So for that, I'm going to delete all these objects and I'm going to create the fresh one as the line. Then I'm going to provide the offset to this line. So for that, I'm going to select this offset command, and you can find that this offset entities is now opened over here. The first thing it is asking you is the parameter and the distance at which you want to have the offset. So by default, it will have 10.00 mm as the value. So let's just have this default one, and then it is asking you for the entities that you want to select. Here it is not telling anywhere that you just have to select the entities, but it's a common sense then that if you want to have the offset, then you should have one entities. So for that, I'm going to select this line, and you can find that this line is now have the offset of 10 mm. Right below over that, you can just increase the offset value from here like this, and if you are going to just press OK, and you can find that this line is now offset to this line, and the distance between these two lines are 70 mm. It's not like that you can't alter the value right now. You can just double click over this 70, and you can find this again, the modification tool, just like in a dimension section, is appearing over here, and you can just change the value from here as well. So let's say you want this value to be 90, then just press OK, and now you have the offset value, the new offset value as the 90. So this is how offset works, but wait, we are not over yet. There's many more properties in this offset, so let's just see out those properties as well. So for that, I'm just pressing Ctrl Z and just making it as an initial state. Then again, I'm going for this offset one and just provide the value from here. Then you have this add dimension option over here. If you are not going to, if you are just untick that thing, then the dimension that we have seen that after the offset, it will provide a one dimension value, and from there also you can just alter the offset value. So that dimension will not going to appear if this value is unselected. Similarly, if you just select the line, then the offset will always be in a lower direction. You can just change its direction by just clicking on this reverse. If you just click on this reverse, the direction is now reversed. Similarly, it is having the select chain option. This chain, how it will going to work, if this line is having the further chain like this, let's say just delete all these objects first, and let's say you have this line like this, then this is now the chain line, and this chain line will have this line as the first line, this is the second line, and these two lines are connected with the help of this arc. So this arc is the third entity. So if this chain section is on, then it will going to select all the objects, and if this chain section is not on or not untick, basically untick, so what will going to happen, it will just select the first individual element, and it will just ignore all these elements. So make sure that this select chain will always going to be ticked, because that is more preferable. Just I'm going deleting these all things right now and just making my book over here. Then you have the bidirectional option over here. You can just select the bidirectional, and now it will have that offset on both the sides, and you can find that this reverse section is now deactivated, because this bidirectional, the reverse section term is not applicable over here. So you can find out that the offset will be on the both direction and the value will be same. You can have 70 as your value, but if you just press OK over here, you can just have 270, and you can just alter any of those value. Let's say you want this value to be 90, then you can have the different offset value like that. But for that, you just it's necessary that this add dimension section is on. If this will be unticked, then this dimension will not going to appear over the line, and you can't alter that value. So this is how our offset work. Then another property regarding this offset is, just select this line and you have this cap ends. You can just tick mark over this cap and you can see that this is now arc over here. This is the cap ends, and this cap ends, what it will going to do, it will just going to join these two offset lines with the help of the arc. You can select this line as well, just click on this one and this arc is now converted into line. So you can have either of the cap ends, you can have the arc as well as the lines. If you will have a line, you can just create a rectangle with that, and if you have an arc, then you can create a slot with that. So you can find that another object is now being created with the help of one offset command. So the next topic is the construction geometry. You can just make the base geometry as your construction mode. You just tick mark over that and you can find that now that the base geometry or the baseline is now converted into the construction mode, and rest all is the same. You can just again have another type of offset in which you can just make the offset geometry as the construction. So now you can see that only the base geometry will have this continuous line and rest all will now be converted into the construction mode. And similarly you have one more options, and that is you can just select these two both, and if you are just going to tick mark over this both section, then all the things in that geometry will now be converted into the construction mode. So this is all about the offset and scale, and with that we complete our manipulation section. So that's all for this lecture, and I'm going to catch up you in the next one.